Welcome to Hornbill TV's Primetime with Ngullie, ladies and gentlemen. We are part of an extraordinary time in the history of Nagaland, and we are part of a new and exciting era too. We cried and laughed and voted. Now the verdict is out. For the first time since 1963, Nagaland will have female representatives in the Legislative Assembly of Nagaland. Not one, but two women actually. They have now the responsibility of not only delivering on their promises of development, but also the burden of proving the merits of women's empowerment to a community that had largely been cynical with women's representation in important decision and policy making institutions of the state. Congratulations to all the winning candidates and sympathies to those who didn't make it to the assembly this time. Nagaland went to the polls on February 27 after weeks of violent electioneering in several parts of the state. Even as we celebrate the winning candidates and sympathize with those who lost, let's pray for peace and God's comfort on two families, one in Mokchong and another in Noklak, who paid a heavy price in the name of representative democracy. Today we have a lot of exciting updates for you with specific highlights on the results of the Nagaland Legislative Assembly elections 2023. Here are the main highlights of the March 2nd event. For the first time in the history of Nagaland since its inception on December 1st, 1963, Nagaland will be having two female representatives in the Nagaland Legislative Assembly. NDPP and the BJP has won a big share of the seats of the Nagaland Legislative Assembly, but the assembly is headed for a hung assembly after results on votes on March 2nd, which showed that there is no clear single party majority to form the government. Let's look into the events, ladies and gentlemen. For the first time in the history of Nagaland since its inception on December 1st, 1963, Nagaland will be having two female representatives in the Nagaland Legislative Assembly. The results of the assembly polls for 66 were declared on March 2nd after a vote count. Nationalist Democratic Progressive Party candidate Salho Tunyo Kruse won the Western Angami 8 Assembly constituency by about 42 votes. NDPP candidate Hekani Jakalu has won the Dimapur 3 seat, becoming the first Naga female representatives in the state's assembly. In Western Angami 8, Kruse polled 7,078 votes against her opponent Kenizako Nakro, an independent who secured 7,071 votes. The margin, a 7-vote difference, ladies and gentlemen. That's elections for you. So 80 people voted for neither or none of the above or nota. Now that the election anxiety is over, you can brace yourself for formation anxiety now, ladies and gentlemen. Nagaland is headed for a hung assembly after final results of the votes on March 2nd showed no clear single party majority to form the government, meaning the NDPP-BJP alliance stays, if they decide to stay together, that is, of course. The final results are this: the NDPP has won 25 seats out of 40 it contested, and the BJP won 12 out of 20 it contested. The NPF contested in 22 seats and won only 2 seats. The JDU also got one, while the LJB-RV won 3 out of 16 seats it contested. The NCP, a dark horse, contested 12 seats and secured 7 seats. Likewise, new entrant NPP contested in 12 seats and secured 5 seats. The Republican Party of India, Athawale, contested in 8 seats and secured 2 seats. Not bad for a party that is practically new to the voters of the state, ladies and gentlemen. Then there are 4 independents who won. The parties that failed to win any seats were the Indian National Congress, RJD, CPI, and the Rising People's Party, whose first and only candidate, Joel Naga, could not win this time. But now, dear Nagaland, the weeks ahead might have a lot of political horses running about. My colleague and fellow anchor Akivito was telling me just a little while ago that he heard that the independents who won were already being approached by certain members of the government. You know what that means. Of course, now the NDPP has 24 seats and the PJB 12 to take the alliance to a hair-thin formation claim of 36 seats. Theoretically, it can form the government, but the problem is not the formation, ladies and gentlemen, but the numbers. Let's take into account coalition politics. It's politics all the way. The BJP alone can still comfortably couple together a government on its own by bringing in all the other smaller party seats, especially the independents and the NCP, LJP and the RPI. What are you thinking about? Considering that politics is like ice cream, strong only when cold, it will melt once ambitions among candidates and parties heat up. The prospect of an alliance other than that of the NDPP-BJP alliance is not entirely impossible. How is that? So far, the BJP had been the NDPP's strongest partner. It had been insisting during the elections that it will stick with the NDPP with Nefirio as the chief minister. That was something a little comforting for Nefirio, yes, but let's not forget that the assurance was when there were no expectations at all that the smaller parties and independents would even secure 5 seats in total. Nobody expected all these small parties and independents would secure 26 between them. So they are practically the kingmakers now. They were being insulted, but now they are the kingmakers. So you put together all of them with 12 seats that the PJB won. It will already have a simple majority alliance, and even more if MLAs from the larger ruling party joins its ranks. That's how it might turn out. That's what the prospect of a coalition government in Nagaland might turn out for the NDPP and the PJB, although they are in alliance. So right now we don't know what will happen, but you know what I'm trying to say. I know what you're thinking. The Indian National Congress and the Naga People's Front, once the two largest single parties in both ruling and opposition benches in Nagaland during the past 40 to 50 years, they have been decimated. In their place, ladies and gentlemen, there has emerged a legion of small, previously unknown regional and national parties and independents. They have emerged kingmakers this time who will decide who will form the new government of Nagaland. Of course, we are still yet to see any process towards the formation of the government at this time because the results were declared only today. But when you have a major number formed by small parties who are not NDPP or BJP or even the NPF and the Congress, then I think the question of having a kingmaker this time will seem very significant, considering that coalition politics are those kind of systems that are always characterized by internal bickering, of course, party ambitions and candidates' ambitions, even in alliances. So this time the smaller parties, I believe, might be the kingmakers. In one of the biggest surprises in Nagaland's electoral history, a number of small parties have emerged with winning numbers more than the traditionally larger parties from the state, such as the NPF, the Congress, and the Janata Dal. These parties were expected to make huge gains in the face of a perceived anti-incumbency wave. However, this time, as the NPF, Congress, and the JDU failed to secure any grounds, parties such as the Lok Jan Shakti Party, Ram Vilas faction, National People's Party, and the Nationalist Congress Party and the Republican Party of India, Athawale, have secured significant grounds. What were you expecting? I think I know what you were thinking. You weren't expecting anything anyway. Here are the numbers. Independents have won 4 seats at this time when we were going on air. Lok Jan Shakti Party, RV, has won 2 seats, the NPF 2 seats, the NPP 5 seats, NCP 6 seats, and the Republican Party of India, Athawale, 2 seats. About 20 seats altogether from the non-NDPP BJP parties. So now, who did you vote for and did your candidate win? We'd like to know. If you're on social media, you can just put it down on the comments. We'd like to know. Of course, you wouldn't be saying who you voted for, but maybe you can tell us a little bit about the kind of expectations you have from the new government that will be formed soon. Even as we speak, there will be disappointment in more than 160 political camps in Nagaland, but there will also be a lot of celebrations, lots of pork and lots of fried chicken in the camps of about 60 candidates who won. So let's check out some of the big names that made it to the Legislative Assembly this time. Because of time constraints, we will check out some of the most prominent names and surprise winners only who made it to the Assembly this time. First, this will be the 7th time the Chief Minister Nefirio will be in the Assembly. Not far off is former Chief Minister T.R. Ziliang, who also won from his constituency. And from Peg District, we have NPF Chief Kuzo Luzo Nina, who has taken the Peg 19 Assembly constituency. Then we have Ann Jacob Zimomi, who will be going to the Assembly for the 3rd time after securing probably the biggest vote share in Nagaland during these elections. The Gaspani one representative won about 32,037 votes to beat his 4 opponents. Elsewhere, H. Tovi Hoto Ayami and Motushi Longkamer retained their seat. Hekani Jakalu and of course Salhautunyo Kruse, now the 2 first Naga women to represent in the Nagaland Legislative Assembly. They're making history. The Chief Minister's brother Jaliri also retained his seat. Another winner was Dr. Sukato A. Sema of the LJB representing Puhopudo. Veteran regional leader KG Kenya also won, as well as former Chief Secretary of Nagaland Tien Manen. And yes, from Mongma village we have Sharingain Longkamer, the Speaker of the Nagaland Legislative Assembly. Hello Shari, congratulations to you. Likewise, the PJB candidate Imkong L. Imchen, State BJP President Temjen Imna Along, and from Akuluto, Kazeto Kinemi, who was the first candidate in the Nagaland Legislative Assembly election this time to be named the winner. He emerged victorious because there was no opponents for him to contest against. Then we have Mitsubu Jamir again, Deputy Chief Minister Yantungo Patan, Sani's leader Mhatang Yantan, former president of the Naga Students Federation Achumbemu Kikon, and yes, a very new entrant to the Legislative Assembly from Woka, Waim Hombimo Homso of the NCP. From the eastern areas, Paiwang Kunyak, Chingwang Kunyak, and CL John are among the winners. Among the big names who lost in the elections were Monlomo Kikon, Pangyu Pom, R. King from Temeniu, Niba Kronu, Dr. Nikki Saleh, Kire, and Itachu. Of course, 2 other female candidates, Rosie Thompson from Tening and the PJP's Kahuli Sema, they could not make it this time. If they had, then I think there would probably be 4 of them right now being named to the Assembly. I'm just running through the list because of time constraints. For the complete list, you can go through the Election Commission's website. Now that the elections are done with, you can go and enjoy a plate of smoked pork and just relax. You will need all the emotional energy and other kind of energies because political drama to forming the government will begin soon. Let's all hope for the best, and there won't be too much drama that the welfare and concerns of the people becomes a secondary concern. That's all for today, ladies and gentlemen. Keep watching Orbit TV. You are the best. I'm Ngullie. See you next time.